From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Hi everybody, Jared Bartle here, and today another Midway trailer came out, so I'm gonna be doing that. So I'm gonna be reacting to that. So let's just get right down to it. Prepare for Battle Midway.
There's this kid. He didn't think he could cut it. I figured it was just the usual jitters. I take him under my wing. He was right to be scared.
Whoa! Based on the incredible real events.
Pearl Harbor is the greatest intelligence failure in American history.
That's true.
This can never happen again.
I agree. For the record, this day and the day after tomorrow.
I want to make it right.
At least some of the boys still want to fight.
The Japanese are planning something bigger.
So what's the target?
We believe it's Midway.
Washington disagrees.
Washington is wrong.
If we lose, the Japanese own the West Coast. Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles will burn.
This Veterans Day weekend.
We got the order to launch! We need to throw a punch.
Little raid.
So they know what it feels like to be hit.
The courage of a few men.
We're talking about a couple dozen planes against a whole Japanese fleet. This isn't a fair fight.
Will change the fate of the world.
I don't know how to lead these men.
They'll follow you anywhere.
If you know that you came through when people are counting on you.
Yeehaw! Whoa! Nice stall. Nice. Midway in the theaters November 8th. Midway. Now could have gone. It's amazing how much we. I hope you do. But have you ever wondered what would happen if we actually... Did you hear what that one part Washington was wrong? Just imagine if we listened to Washington. I think that would have been a bad mistake. Bad error judgment. They would have been upset that we just listened to them. But have you ever wondered what happened if the Japanese won the Battle of Midway? Let's find out. I'm going to use Alternative History's video, What If Japan Won the Battle of Midway, to find out.
Are you looking for a simple and powerful video editing tool? Why not try Filmora Video Editor? It's an all-in-one video solution to trim, crop, rotate, split, merge, and its modern effects like this, or this can even free you to create stunning videos easily. With Filmora, you can easily get started by importing video shot by any digital camera, camcorder, tablet, mobile phones, etc. into the Filmora. Then you can do some easy and fast edits like trimming, splitting, cropping, adjusting contrast, saturation, brightness, speed, etc. You can also separate audio from the video to adjust the volume or trim it, as well as adding your voice directly to the software through the microphone. There are more than 200 types of filters and overlay to transform a movie into something spectacular. Nearly 300 kinds of animated titles and elements to take your video to the higher level. Over 100 types of basic and fancy transitions to artfully switch your video from one scene to the next. Moreover, Filmora Video Editor allows you to expand your imagination with other unique visual effects. Split screen can let you display 2 or a couple of videos in one screen. With green screen, you can easily create special effects like they do in Hollywood. Want to reverse video? Just one simple click. The feature of screen recording also makes it easy to screen record any program or games. Want to learn more in depth? Just download the software from here and start editing your video right away.
And I use Filmora. So if you want to, you can try the free trial.
This video was sponsored by World of Warships. If you, Jimmy, have ever wanted to sail the ocean blue in 1942, then find out more after the video. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, as we all know, it caught America off guard. The attack hurt, and the surprise of it shocked the entire country into mobilization. But mobilization takes time. The Pacific Ocean is big. So big that even after the day that will live in infamy, for half a year both sides just kinda shook their hands at each other while getting ready. In that 6-month time, Japan was feeling pretty cocky. They thought the US would be easy pushovers. So, in June 1942, they decided to go knock the Americans off of their base on the island of Midway. It was to be a great victory for the Empire. Spoiler, it wasn't. It was not at all. The Battle of Midway resulted in a resounding Japanese defeat. All 4 carriers they had in the battle were lost. Literally 6 months into the war, this was the turning point for when Japan started to fall. So, what if in an alternate timeline Japan wasn't incompetent and with their twice as big navy actually won a victory against America at the Battle of Midway? How would this change the course of the war? Well, it is an alternate 1942. Let's say somehow, Japan has won the battle. What specifically needs to change for this to be accomplished? Well, Jimmy, there were so many things the Japanese did wrong during the battle that I'm not going to bore you with every specific mistake that resulted in their fleet going kaplooey. Japan just really overestimated their capabilities against America. So, alternate timeline. Let's just say that all of the American fleet at this battle is absolutely destroyed. The greatest threat of all occurs. The Japanese are now primed to invade the island of Midway. Phase 2 has begun. And just a few days after the American Navy is obliterated, Japanese forces storm the beaches of Midway, and they're mowed down. Just entirely annihilated. You see, even if Japan did somehow win the naval battle of Midway, there was no way they could ever actually take the island. In the Pacific War, even if Japan had more forces defending an island, the Americans would still take it. So a better equipped and bigger American defense against an unprepared, poorly executed amphibious assault by Japan just results in failure. I was going to say at least the Battle of Midway would be a political failure for America. However, after Japan flops onto the beaches of Midway, I'd say it kinda evens out. A failure at Midway would be a kick in the shins, but the next inevitable naval victory against Japan makes everyone feel better. So what's the lesson here, kiddies? What's the point? The thing I find interesting in history is sometimes there simply is situations that are never changed. My cat is never going to shut up at 3 a.m., and Japan was always going to lose the Pacific War the second they decided to attack the United States. It couldn't replace the fleet it had, and that was its ultimate downfall. For every ship Japan sunk, America could replace it with 5. For every ship America sunk, Japan's fleet just got smaller. We often have a misconception of the war in the Pacific that the war was of equals, when it wasn't. From 1942 to 1945, Japan was trying to stop a boulder from crushing it. As much energy or men or planes it threw at the situation, the giant boulder was going to fall and kill Japan eventually. It was just a bad luck of cards. The best strategy to winning the game was simply never playing in the first place. This video was sponsored by World of Warships. For those that don't know, World of Warships is an online multiplayer game where you command a fleet featuring some of history's most iconic war vessels. There's a diverse range of ship classes you can choose from to win against players online. It's a great time if you like ships, or enjoy watching the ships of your enemies sink slowly into the abyss. Anyway, Wargaming came to me to promote a new offer for new players. By clicking on the link down below, the first 300 viewers that use the code PLAYWARSHIPS2018 can get 250 doubloons, don't drop them, 1 million credits, and the HMS Campbellton premium ship along with 1 port slot and 3 days of premium game time. So if this piques your interest, then click on the link down below to get started. If it doesn't, then why did you just watch this whole thing? This is Cody of Alternate History Hub.
This software has a simple and intuitive interface, which involves the least learning curve. It not only includes all the basic video editing functionalities, such as chopping off unwanted parts, joining clips together, adding music, rotating, etc., but also comes with lots of cool special effects, such as picture-in-picture, split screen, filter effects, and motion elements, etc. Making is as simple as possible for non-editors to turn your video into something extraordinary.
Let's take a look at this one. That's pretty amazing. Now let's see this one. Let's see.
This video was sponsored by World of Warships. If you, Jimmy, have ever wanted to sail the ocean blue in 1942, then find out more after the video. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, as we all know, it caught America off guard. The attack hurt, and the surprise of it shocked the entire country into mobilization. But mobilization takes time. The Pacific Ocean is big. So big that even after the day that will live in infamy, for half a year both sides just kinda shook their hands at each other while getting ready. In that 6-month time, Japan was feeling pretty cocky. They thought the US would be easy pushovers. So, in June 1942, they decided to go knock the Americans off of their base on the island of Midway. It was to be a great...
Oops, wrong video. Sorry. Here we go.
This video was sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online service where you have access to a huge catalog of tutorials that give lessons on skills in multiple different fields. If this piques your interest, they're offering a free trial for the first 700 who click down below. You can find out more at the end of this video.
It's pretty interesting. There was no hope. Japan couldn't win Midway. But let's see what happens if Japan ever attacked Pearl Harbor. What if, in an alternate timeline, Japan never attacked Pearl Harbor?
British brains, American brawn, and Russian blood won the war. When Stalin initially said those words, he spoke of the industrial might of the Americans. Guns, tanks, planes, ships. In World War II, the United States was a military production machine, an engine. Every engine needs that initial spark to awaken it. More importantly, something to fuel it. That spark for America was the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. That fuel was the urge for revenge. There's a reason the 20th century for America can be divided before Pearl Harbor and after. Before, the United States was an island. The public didn't want to give any more in the fight against the Axis other than weapons and supplies. That was, until the war came to them. The sneak attack on Pearl Harbor was the perfect combination to enrage an entire country. In the span of one day, isolationism became a thing of the past. So how would World War II have continued if Pearl Harbor was never attacked? Let's imagine one possible alternate timeline. It is December 7th, 1941. Everything is simply calm. And that's because Emperor Hirohito, a man with a weak hold on his militaristic generals, actually enforced his will. Japan will not carry out a sneak attack on the US. From this point on, the relationship between the two countries is tense, but never goes past that. They're separated by the largest ocean on Earth, and without some instigation, it stays like that. For some reason out of FDR's control, the United States never enforces an oil embargo on Japan. Instead, he remains in Washington, frustrated that the Americans have to sit out the war. Britain is on the edge of a Nazi Europe, and the Soviets have been invaded. The public, however, doesn't want to send their men off to die like they did in the Great War. Only 8% supported a war against Germany. Congress would never vote for such a thing, and it stays that way. With no war between Japan and America, Hitler never blunders into declaring war on the US. FDR can never send over troops, as none of the public wants to get involved. By December 7th, 1941, the Japanese have been fighting another enemy on the frozen coasts of eastern Siberia. Japan is at war with the Russians. Both the United States and Soviets posed a threat to Japan. However, Japan chose to go to war with only one. With no embargo, the US isn't that target. With Germany invading the Soviets from the west, the Japanese saw it as a good opportunity to seize the less defended Siberian coast. With such a long distance, it'd be difficult to reinforce it as well, so they carried out an invasion of the USSR. For the last few months, the Japanese have been fighting a harsh war against the defending Russians. To compensate for their lack of armor, they chemical bombed cities dotting the border, killing hundreds of thousands to lighten up defenses. Throughout 1942, their advancement, just like their German counterpart, begins to stall. The war was won with Russian blood, and the Soviets, with their vast manpower, still push back Germany. In Europe, without the Americans, D-Day cannot happen, not like it did in our timeline. Eventually, Berlin would have to fall to the Russians, and more troops would be sacrificed to defend the Eastern Front, even if that means leaving France and other occupied territories open. The Nazis didn't believe in retreat, especially for Germany. With a drastically smaller enemy, only now could a D-Day-like invasion occur, involving a smaller force of British and Canadians. Even if the wait was a few months, the Soviets are able to invade further west in this timeline, seizing all of Germany and Eastern Europe in the process. Germany isn't divided between East and West in this alternate world. All of Germany is simply communist. Meanwhile, in the East, the Japanese can't hold back the Soviets, as more reinforcements arrive after the fall of Germany. Japan now is facing the full might of the USSR. Instead of their empire falling piece by piece thanks to American island hopping in the Pacific, Japan might face an actual worse fate. Stalin was quite vengeful. The Japanese teamed up with Hitler, caring little for the lives of his own troops. Such a bloody, devastating invasion could be very possible. The Japanese face an actual invasion for the first time in history, and by the end, they are virtually obliterated as a society. Stalin helps them rebuild, but sets up a puppet communist government. To America, who has sat out of the war, all they witness is the new rise of Soviet global dominance. In Europe, only Britain, France, and perhaps the Scandinavian countries remain democratic. All of East Asia has fallen to communism as well. It is in this moment, the end of World War II, with a Soviet victory, where the concept of isolationism begins to end. To the public, staying out of the war brought nothing but glory for the Reds. The United States is in a world where its ideals are more alone than ever. Perhaps this is the spark that awakens the American machine. Not a machine for war, but a machine to prepare for what many assume will be the next fight. If the Japanese Empire lost the war at home, then perhaps its large navy and territory could have remained. But now that territory is just in the hands of a Soviet puppet state. Because of this new world, a mentality, much like in our own timeline, could arise. To protect themselves, the West would need a special type of weapon. One that was conceived years back but never truly tested. Perhaps it might even things out in the inevitable next conflict. World War III, the nuclear bomb. However, this is simply one scenario. We'll never truly know what would have happened had things gone differently. But it's always a fun idea to think about these things, how history happens, in the world that we live in today because of it. This is Cody of Alternate History Hub.
Thank you, Cody.
This video was sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with 17,000 classes in videography, productivity, photography, and more. If you have a passion, Skillshare has a lesson for it. For me, since I create videos, I found the most helpful lessons was in editing and writing. If you have a Mac, I would highly recommend visual storytelling with Final Cut Pro. It's a great starting guide for those getting into editing on a Mac. If you're into writing as well, I would also recommend Writing for
Night. My mother.
Consistency, finding your creative voice to be a good inspiration for aspiring writers. Premium membership begins around $10 a month for unlimited access to learning, but the first 700 members who click on the link in the description below will get 2 months for free. Click quick because space is limited and might go fast. Either way, if you're getting into a new field, Skillshare could be the gateway to learning more. So click on the link down below to get started. This is Cody of Alternate History Hub.
Thank you again, Cody. Wow, can you imagine? I guess in a way we should be thanking the Japanese for us becoming the superpower that we are. Because think about it, if that's true, the USSR would most likely be a dominant, if they never attacked Japan. All over. The Emperor system would be dead in Japan. All Germany would be under Soviet control. Dang. If that's true anyway. But that's his theory. We'll never know what truly happens unless we have unless we have a way to access, unless we have two things, a way to access parallel dimensions and a time machine. Or just the history books. Excuse me. But anyway, I probably should close out this video. Next trailer, Midway trailer. But speaking of which, I want to ask, do you think Michael Bay should have directed this film? Post your thoughts down in the comments down below. I mean, I have no problem with Roland Emmerich directing, but do you think Michael Bay should have done it, since he did Pearl Harbor? And secondly, do you think there should be a sequel to Pearl Harbor like Midway? Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And if you can, help this video reach 100+ views by sharing it with as many people as you can. Friends, family, complete strangers, the possibilities are endless. And help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers by sharing my channel with as many people as you can. Friends, family, complete strangers, the possibilities are endless. But until then, this is Jeff Bartle saying, this is Jeff Bartle signing off.